Okay, so I've known you from past 3 years now, and
Right.
with the kind of degree you have, or with the kind of achievements you've done till date, I'm still going to ask you this question. Do you feel privileged?
I am by virtue privileged because of the family I grew up in, because of the people I've been surrounded with, because of the school I went to, because of the kind of educational success I've had. I really can't deny that there was a lot of privilege involved, regardless of my gender, because I've never had to face the same kind of discrimination. Somebody coming from a poorer or, like a less, a lower caste,
Okay.
of that background would have, a woman coming from that background. But that being said, I'm really trying not to exploit my privilege.
Okay. So you spoke about women coming from a lower caste might
Right.
find it difficult, right?
Right.
So is there anything that you can do? Because compared to them, you are in a powerful place
Right. Yeah. Of
in
course.
every sense. So even though you're telling me that, these are the issues that are happening,
Right.
what are you doing to uplift them? Or are you doing anything to uplift them?
Okay, I'll have to admit that whatever I'm doing is not enough because there have clearly been no results. I'm very vocal about it. I talk about it on social media, or if I see somebody talking about it, if I see that they're giving out a derogatory opinion, I try to correct them as much. But I think the first thing is dialogue. You get people involved. When you make people realize, then the system changes, because the people are the system.
Okay.
And when you acknowledge that disparity, the economic disparity and the class-based disparity, only then can you do something about it.
Okay.
But I think we aren't doing enough in India. We criticize the reservation system because we think, there is a lack of competence, but we don't acknowledge the privilege that we have. They don't come from the same schools that we do. They don't study the English language like we do. So why do they expect them to compete with us on the same level? It's completely unfair, right? Because our education systems are different by large. The government schools, they are not as equipped as the private schools we go to. They are much more, financially, they're underprivileged financially and education wise, and in every aspect of the society they are being oppressed. I know it's a cliche term, but people don't talk about it enough, the oppression they face. So when you address that, only then can you come up with a solution. So
Okay.
I think we've got a long way to go.
You know what? I will give out two things here, okay?
Right.
When you spoke about oppression, this oppression is starting right from the moment they get up in the morning, they
Right.
face it in their own homes,
Right.
when they cross paths with others, when they're growing up, especially in the minorities, this oppression against women is there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
that is one thing. And you told that, I call you as an elite because when you compare to them, you are an elite. Okay.
Definitely.
Now that you have so much at your disposal, like everything is at your disposal right now, what do you do with it? Like most of women or men or everyone in general kind of go off to do things on their own, and
Right.
somewhere this is forgotten. When you come across a post on Instagram or Facebook, will be like, whoa, no, equality is a must and all that.
Right.
But you like it, you share it, you put up a story, and you're gone. You again go on with your lives as if you've made a big change,
Right.
I don't think that's a right way to implement equality or right way to fight for equality.
Right.
What do you want to say about that? Because we all put up stories. I won't lie. Me, you, our circle, or people in general put up stories if something happens against women,
Right.
and they become active only after something happens.
Right.
If
Of course.
this awareness was there before something happened, no, I guess we would be even safer as a community,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
what can we do? Like, as a woman, what do you want to do to kind of, uplift them?
Okay, answering your first question. Okay, so answering the first question, oppression is just there. It doesn't go away. It's inevitable to these people. It's not just the women, but the children and the men. But women get the worst end of it.
Worst
obviously.
treatment.
Yeah, because regardless of how they're all fighting for a similar freedom, they're still fighting for themselves individually, and women are not given that kind of platform or that vocal presence to actually come out and fight. There must be an intrusion of some point, like you might call it the savior complex, but when a person of the upper class, I mean, usually members who get appointed to the government themselves are upper class, without reservation.
Okay.
So when people like these step in and actually, like offer a helping hand. So when they offer a helping hand, it's not even something they're doing outside of their assigned duty. They're just not doing what they were hired to do. And that is just absurd to me. I mean, it should be absurd to a lot more people, but I just hope people realize. And it's not just them, because we are the people of India.
Okay.
If we get to decide what the government does, we are a democracy, regardless of that is a bit like arguable because debatable, because people are like, we're not exactly a liberal democracy. We don't have to be. As long as we have the power vested in us by the constitution, we can take matters in our own hands. And we have the power, but we're not really acknowledging it because we're constantly told that we're helpless.
Okay.
We just have that complex, that like that impotence. So I think we have to overcome that and really see what our duties as citizens of India are. And addressing the second question, it's definitely a very important point. But I think the common misconception is that when we share posts, we're only sharing it within our circle, and everybody within our circle have the same opinion. They don't. A lot of people are conservative, they don't, even if they're not vocal about it. Some people are. Some people, they might be educated just as much as you are, but they still refuse to acknowledge the misogyny, the sexism, the casteism, the Islamophobia, the homophobia. They refuse to acknowledge these things because they're so privileged that they can't see out of their privilege. They're just seeing their everyday lives and they think it's good like that. They don't see people when they're struggling. And only when you put up posts like that on social media, they can't deny it because these are facts. These are reported by journalists. That is also, But when you report facts are facts. You can't change them. You can only change what prompted them. So I think you have to get the conversation going. Because once people start talking about it, no matter where it is, on social media, in real life, people don't do it in real life. They don't oppose their parents, they don't oppose their families, they only have social media to resort to. At least there they're allowed to express their opinions. I mean, it's such a beautiful phenomena. You can interact with people over the world, learn about them and express your opinions and essentially change minds. I remember when, I am a keyboard warrior. There's no shame in that. I love fighting with random people on the internet. Sometimes it's fruitless. There's no point in doing it. They just, get personal.
But you're putting yourself out there and doing all that.
Yeah, but it's still pretty useless because most people don't change their minds. If anything, they just stick to that opinion more because of the kind of angst they have. And these are prompted by personal experiences, but we'll keep that aside for later. But there are people who I've had conversations with. They have DM'd me. At first I thought it was creepy, but we had open-minded conversations. And we both reached a similar, like a conclusion. So that, what do you say? That
you had
dialogue,
this consent again with your...
Yeah, exactly. With the random stranger from... I don't know where they were from. Some of them were Indian, some of them were from America, some of them were people from all over the world. So it's just beautiful that you can come to a conclusion just by talking. So dialogue is so important. We definitely undermine the importance of dialogue, and when social media is offering you that platform, I don't see why we shouldn't use it to the maximum extent.
You mentioned this thing called beautiful phenomenon that's happening on social media.
Right.
I somewhere agree with you because let me give you this brief history. I kind of did engineering for 1.5 years, where some again, it's a co-ed, right? So women also were there and I studied with them. And there was no Yeah, and I feel there wasn't any solidarity with respect to how they express themselves.
Right.
Or I mean, it's not like everyone kind of tried to oppress, or there was nothing like that. Okay, even though it looked equal, when when there were issues that needed to be addressed, it wasn't.
Exactly.
There were only one or two I know who kind of came up and spoke, and I had a debate with them.
Right.
Apart from that, it's nowhere. Okay.
Right.
And then I kind of came to this whole arts field, and I did a degree and all that.
Right.
Here what I feel is everywhere there is so much aggression on a very good way, in a very good way, because of them I learned so much, because of
Right.
the women around me were so strong and open-minded,
Right.
really changed me. Even though I didn't intend for this change, I was so used to being around them, it really opened my eye. I know it's too much, but I'm telling the truth,
No, I mean that's actually great to hear, because not a lot of people agree to that. Like it's fine to acknowledge that a person from a different community or a different physical form I have changed your mind about their experiences. I mean, that's actually great. And when you talked about schools, like sexism is masked. It's never upfront. They don't tell you that you're not fit to be this. You're not fit to enter this particular profession because you're a woman. It comes in comments and chides.
Okay.
It comes in
verbally.
like statements like, oh, why is your skirt so short? Why are you looking at my skirt? Why is that of any importance to you? I know the boys aren't. I don't remember any boy coming and looking at my skirt and saying, oh yeah, I'm distracted.
Okay.
So it's very hidden because of the way they treat girls. We're all,
I guess
grow up.
is that the reason why women won't speak out in most of the places?
definitely, because even before we learned that we had a voice, people were telling us stuff that would, it's like a spiral of silence. We have opinions that are different from yours, but because we're constantly told, and we don't want to debate because we know that this isn't the competition, so we're constantly told that our opinions don't matter. They don't say it to our face, but the way they talk, we're not supposed to oppose our teachers. We're never meant to. The school system does not allow you to talk back, because that's a form of being mean. That's a form of disobedience.
Okay.
But how are we expected to live in a society when the school itself is made to, like, they mold us in a certain way? So when we go on to work, we don't talk back to our boss and the CEO either. So our whole lives, that's the point of capitalism. I know, it's cliche to bring it up when we're talking about feminism.
You can talk whatever you want.
Yeah, but we have to talk about how all these are interrelated. Capitalism, that's the thing. Like, it tells you that you're supposed to listen to the elite simply because they're the elite and you're not.
Okay.
And if you listen, if you conform, if you pay attention, you might be an elite.
Okay.
And then you can suppress other people, but you are an elite, so there's no reason for you to complain.
Okay.
So that is what we're told happiness is. Being an elite, being an aristocrat in the society. So when you're constantly told not to talk back, we don't do it at home because our parents ask us not to talk back. We don't do it outside because we don't have experiences talking at home, because they're not willing to listen. So how would a random stranger listen to us? So I think it's a learned behavior, this sort of activism, and I think it comes with tolerance, like a lack of tolerance. We can't tolerate this thing our whole lives. We've seen our parents, we've seen our grandparents, and they're definitely treated worse than we are. They might not admit to it, they might follow the same thing, they might follow the same hierarchy system, but they don't admit to it. And when they don't admit to it, and when you're observing, I think you decide that you don't want to live that kind of life, and that is when you start talking.
Okay, this attitude of not questioning is kind of programmed into you throughout your life, right?
Pretty much.
Do you feel that is the main reason for a lack of solidarity in women?
I don't think it's just that is one of the reasons I will.
Yeah, because
I will
if you
agree
can't
to that.
voice out, how will you stand together, right?
Yeah, it's not even just that. It's not even being not being able to voice out your opinions, but it's falling victim to that mentality that women are lesser beings. You just taught that, you have to fight back. If you don't fight back, you believe that women are lesser beings, and that is why you don't fight back. So that's the thing, it's a vicious cycle. It's in perpetuation for the rest of your life. You pass it down to generations, and that is why, it's not just men telling women what not to do. It's also women telling women what not to do. And when it comes from another woman, it's particularly hurtful because they know what it is like to be a woman.
I guess because they kind of construct this reality around this young one saying that you should not question, because they were also kind of what do you say, they also grew, they were also
silent.
Taken care in the same way, right? So like you told, this vicious cycle keeps on going. So how can you break this, or how can womankind be strong, because if they look out for each other, there's nothing like it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't want to comment on this, but
you're allowed to. I'll just correct you if you're wrong.
No, like, do you guys look out for each other if something happens?
I mean, I think
be honest,
that is congenital, we're all born with that. Most of us, at least, if we're educated, I think we have to look out for each other. Because God knows the men won't.
Okay.
We can't expect male feminists to come and rescue us all the time. We have to start standing up for ourselves, especially when we have the power to. Some people have the privilege, but they won't use it. They won't use it for the right purpose.
Why do you think they won't use it?
Because they're so secure, they're so safe in their environment, being taken care of.
They don't want to come out of that bubble and sacrifice.
They don't want that independence, they don't want responsibilities, and that is a very personal thing. I can't comment the same of all people in the world. But people like that, really, I think they have to, break out of that little brick wall they've constructed around themselves. Like, they have to break down the walls and come and fight for the rest of us. I mean, living itself is a constant fight. If you're not fighting for one thing, you are fighting for another. You just have to choose your priorities. Sometimes you're fighting for your job. We're always fighting for the most
simplest of things.
Yeah, the simplest of things, the most menial things.
Okay.
But the thing is, sometimes you have to pick a fight which will benefit a lot more people. And it's not just because you have to make a name for yourself, but it's because what else is the point of living? Like, I don't understand. You make a lot of money for yourself. Your sons are happy, your daughters are happy, but not you.
Okay.
In the end, you can't take it with you.
You
but
know,
the fights you've had.
Yes, please continue. Continue. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The sacrifices you've made, the fights you've had, the success you've had, the outcomes of that will remain with a lot of people. And I think that is, it's a wonderful thing to do. That kind of reputation that you were a fighter, that you were an activist. I don't know how people could refuse something like that, because that is a wonderful reputation to have.
These terms like activist, fighter,
right,
or stand by your ground, people don't even know what it means. That is how uneducated they are. Or even if they want to learn, people block them. People don't allow them to kind of learn all this,
Right.
And as we are talking about solidarity, I will tell you how it works in men, okay? Like I told, after I got into arts, my whole perception changed.
Right.
I was changed. I didn't know that I had changed. Okay, I had my opinions, my principles, what is this, what is that, everything was lined up.
Right.
I kind of had this individuality where I want to empower others or uplift others, equality and all that. This happened because of people around me.
Right.
They didn't want to change me, but inevitably I changed, right? And recently I caught up with my school friends, and then I realized the difference where I am and where they are.
Right.
And I don't want to name the person, but they were kind of fat shaming an actress, and I genuinely felt uncomfortable in that space. I didn't want to be there because it just didn't fit me. It's like, I don't want to be here, man. I don't talk like this, right? So why are they talking? And it's so casual for them, like they can just use a bunch of words and just put someone down like that, right?
Right, yeah.
I guess people around you matter the most.
They
It's
do.
like what you consume is, it's like food. You consume junk food, you fall sick. You consume, good food,
Right.
healthy food,
Hmm.
you will be fit even if you don't want to.
Right, of course.
So
yeah.
subconsciously so much is running in your mind, right? So I guess that is what men want. They need right set of people around them so that they can learn and change.
Exactly. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense because I personally feel individuality is a lie because you're never your own person. You are your person based on the experiences you have in the world. You're not born with a set of values. Values are cultivated, right? So the kind of people you surround yourself with will have a huge impact.
Yeah.
But then again, you are also allowed to go there and build your own opinions about certain things, and that is also inspired by people that you interact with the kind of things you see, with the kind of situations you've been in. But yeah, I think it's really sad when people think they can say a lot of bullshit and get away with it. And moreover, I think men also suffer in certain ways. We don't really talk about that enough because when we make fun of their appearance, it's a normal thing. Like, I think body positivity really doesn't apply to men because we all have standards.
Yeah, I like
And
it.
when you have
Like,
physical
agree,
standards, then there's no body positivity, right? If you say that you only want a tall, thin, dark, fair, handsome man, where is the body positivity? Because you're setting standards. You won't date outside of your standards. So no matter how progressive you are, I think body positivity really isn't there. It's just we all have standards and we will abide by it. And when you spoke about activism, a lot of people are really aggressive. And when aggression is good, they just try to force it down your throats. And obviously that's very repulsive, I wouldn't want to talk to a person who's constantly telling me that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of telling me how I could be correct. And they only point out how you're wrong, but they don't tell you how to improve on your opinion and how your opinion is toxic to others, how it's affecting the rest of the world.
I know, they kind of bombard it on you in such a way
Yeah.
that you just can't take it, I have
Exactly.
experienced that. They don't give you suggestions, they literally tell you what to do. And that is something that you just cannot accept.
It's annoying, obviously.
It is annoying, yeah.
You can't fight with people to prove them they're wrong. You have to tell them. That's why there needs to be a dialogue and not a debate. When there's debate, it automatically becomes a competition.
It becomes personal.
Yeah, it's not even about you proving your point, it's about winning. You just have to win. You just have to be there and prove that person wrong.
These innate emotions like ego just
Yeah,
kicks in,
Exactly.
and you want to be right even though you know you're wrong.
yeah,
You want to be right. And that's
exactly.
how you want to present yourself all the time. Especially, you see in these stereotypical families or marriages where man controls everything. He knows he's wrong.
Yeah.
He knows he's not supposed to do it.
Yeah,
But he will. Why? Because
it's
I'm
acceptable.
a man and I don't want to, bend down and just agree
He
for my
enjoys that
mistakes,
position. Yeah.
That doesn't that doesn't happen at all because of, again, people around them. No one teaches them. They'll fucking grow up and it's that
Become
vicious
the same
cycle,
thing,
like
exactly.
you told. It just keeps repeating, And amongst women, I want to know, like, does these feeling like what do you say, jealousy, greed, or anger, does it affect your solidarity in any way? Like, do you feel jealous of other women, or just because they're doing well in life, and that is why you just don't get along with each other, or just can't take care of each other? Like, these emotions, do they play any important role?
I mean, jealousy is everywhere. No person is immune to that. Every person gets jealous, every person is greedy, and they do it. But when I'm jealous of a woman because of her success and like the struggles she's overcome and then she's become successful, then I don't think it's very nice, because you have to be happy for her because she's contributing to the entire movement. But the thing is, I can't back up a woman just because she's a woman. There has to be accountability. If she's wrong, she's wrong. I can't defend her just because she's a woman, just because she's my kind, because that is absurd. That is not what feminism is about. It's about fighting for yourself, fighting for the women around you, and fighting for the right thing. And I can't,
morality stands out.
Exactly. That is the whole point. That is the whole foundation of feminism. We want rights. But when your rights are affecting somebody else's, then I think I can't back you up there. Like, it happens. I am jealous of women who are better than me, who are more beautiful than me. But that's natural. I wouldn't even, condemn myself for it. It just happens. It happens to the best of us. But when my whole perception of the movement is based on just my feelings towards one person, then I think I have to, reconsider my entire perception.
Again, it depends on the place, the
time,
situation, and everything.
But generally, obviously, I'm all for women. Like, go get it. But it also depends on the individual, the kind of individual they are. Because if you're a woman and you're still misogynistic, you don't expect me to sympathize with you. Obviously not, because you are a victim of the system. It definitely depends on the kind of person they are, and I will never back up a woman if she's wrong.
Okay.
And that is also subjective, but when she's legally wrong,
again, there are so many clauses in,
Yeah, exactly. It's a very grey area. It's definitely not black and white. But 90% of the time,
You know what I feel personally? I want to say this. You just touched upon this beautiful phenomenon that's happening on social media, right? It is.
Yeah.
I agree. And it's like this change is happening, but it's very slow. It's like a wave. And the wave is, it's very dormant right now.
Right.
Okay? And if it needs to kick in, people should be more aware.
Right.
The percentage of people who are actually fighting for a cause or putting their voice out there is, I don't know, like 1 out of 10. What do you think?
Okay, I
guess, it's like the wave has started.
Right.
Okay. I don't know how many generations will it take to, to actually make an impact.
See, change has been there from the beginning. Change is inevitable. Change is permanent. There will always be change, but you can't predict the speed of change, And for me, I don't think there will ever be equality, because we're different people. We don't deserve equality, we deserve equity. There are places where men need more appraisal, there are places where women need appraisal, there are places where other genders, like the non-binaries or the transgenders, they need more appraisal. So I think we have to cater to their particular needs instead of declaring that we're all equal. Because when that's there, then it's like saying whatever you're going to get will satisfy you because one particular gender is getting that. So every gender deserves that. But no, because we are innately different.
Yeah, I agree.
We're all different people. So I think we have to recognize the needs of every community and give that to them. We have to give it to each other.
Yeah.
And towards the end, everybody wants the freedom to survive. The right. They want the rights every other person has. But that's the thing. Sometimes it's just like my right of opinion is better than your right to live.
Okay.
And that is absurd. I can say that, but it's my opinion that I don't like the gays. But you're literally saying that you don't want them to exist. Which, what the fuck, just...
Yeah. I agree to the point where you're like, this equality will never come, because let's just go back where gods walked on the earth, like Ramayana or Mahabharata. There was oppression then also.
Apparently.
Yeah. There's oppression now also.
Definitely.
It's been millennials according to what they say, but what has happened? We have witnessed these waves of feminism, right?
Yeah.
First, second and third.
Yeah.
It has, after so many waves, we have come to a point where women can vote.
Right.
Simplest of things like voting needs to it needs sacrifice, and that is
Exactly.
very sad. They're not allowed to vote. Like, then what is democracy?
See,
Do you need a wave to, just go against the system?
no, see, that's the thing. In ancient Greek, was it Socrates? Socrates was the one who spoke about how democracy shouldn't belong to the people, but just philosophers, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so when these philosophers, these acclaimed philosophers had those ideas, we are still adhering to those standards, to standards of, like several centuries, tens of centuries before this time. So I think it's definitely a lot better than it was, but there is still so much scope for improvement, and we just have to go back in time and see how terrible it was and how we don't want that, because a lot of people want that, they want their cultures and their traditions back, but you're not seeing how your culture and tradition is putting somebody right back into their boxes.
Yeah, they'll see, this is how we are brought up.
Yeah,
This is what we are taught, and this is how we
Exactly.
have to be.
exactly. It's always that stupid excuse, like this is how your father, your forefathers do. But that's the thing. It was just the fathers and the forefathers. The women
Yeah.
were never allowed to flourish. So I'm not, sitting down and accepting that just because it's always been that way in the in my generation. I mean, in my ancestry. So I mean, if you're going by that excuse, it's like, fine, let the white people go and colonialize everybody even now then. Why are you fighting for racism, right?
Yeah.
Because you were oppressed, your ancestors were slaves. And if you're an African American, if you're an African person, your ancestors were slaves. Why would you fight for that? Hey, that's the thing. People only fight for things they think is important. And otherwise they won't let other people fight. So it's ridiculous how we're picking and choosing our fights, It's like, yeah, this fight is good, this fight isn't, this fight isn't, that fight is not at all important. So we have to let people fight their fight. As long as it's going to benefit the greater good of humanity, then I think we should let people fight their fight. And
Just, have their backs and make them feel more empowered, and
yeah,
because somewhere you need that
I
strength.
mean, you can't make somebody feel empowered. Then there is no empowerment, because it should come from within.
Okay.
And like terms like these.
Okay,
are
like
just
being
thrown
with
around.
them,
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah, just don't stop their fight. That's
Okay.
all. Just don't tell them that it's worthless. It might be worthless to you because it's not benefiting you in any way, or maybe it's taking away some of your, it's affecting your ego. But just let them do that.
But
thing.
standing by their side is important, right?
It is. Even if you're not, just
Don't
tamper
interrupt
the
them.
process.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or maybe stop the bad forces from coming in, but let the good forces do their job.
Yeah.
That is all.
What if we just look at this scenario through the other side of the coin, okay? Where an individual actually wants to give out their voice, they want to tell what they want to tell, but
Right.
they're too afraid,
Okay.
and that is how they give up.
Okay.
And what if it's been like this the whole time, where they're just giving up because they're too scared and they don't know what will happen?
Right.
So do you think this might also be a reason?
I mean, that is definitely. A lot of people are afraid of the consequences. They're afraid that their jobs will be taken away if they stand up for the right thing. That they will be ostracized if they stand up for the right thing, because the society they live in don't necessarily agree with them. But I think you shouldn't be in an environment where you're not allowed to question what you want to,
Okay.
because otherwise they'll kick you out. That is a very bad environment to be in, because today it's this, tomorrow it might be that, day after tomorrow it might be your existence. So you have to keep fighting, man. I mean,
Yeah, it's like you will only act when it comes to your throat.
exactly.
Until then you're not, you're like, oh, it's not my
Exactly. When it's personal, you take matters into your own hands. So that is why most people are still fighting for conservatism, because it's affecting them. That's why they're fighting. Otherwise, they don't give a fuck about it.
Yeah, it's mostly like why, we'll also get into trouble, so we don't
Yeah.
want to.
Exactly. They don't want to be accountable for what they're doing, what their ancestors did. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. You have to let people speak up, because if you don't, tomorrow you won't be allowed to speak up.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's not just one person that is not allowed to speak up. It goes on. It extends that the majority. It from the minority it extends to the majority. Tomorrow it might be your family. Tomorrow it might be the elite. So that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
When you remain quiet when another person is facing the wrath of society, it will come to you at some point of time, even if you think you're the most privileged person because of how rich you are. Because tomorrow people might wake up and decide that they have to banish all rich people from the planet because obviously they're the most exploitative. So yeah, you have to fight constantly, and you can't pick and choose. You have to support most fights.
In real time, I don't know how much we can implement this, because when someone is so poor and so scared of the repercussions of their actions, they won't do anything.
Right.
And sometimes it'll be like, okay man, I understand, or I understand you have a family, you need to put food on the table.
Right.
That time they don't choose to act, and somewhere you've become so forgiving that okay, and you just let it go. It's like change is impossible.
Right.
No,
but the thing is, why are they afraid to speak? Who are they afraid of?
Because they are oppressed in one or the other way, or if you're so weak that you're only earning for the day,
right,
and that is your meal, and tomorrow again you have to start from zero, because you don't have anything. So if that's the situation, then they kind of mind their own business, because they don't want to get hurt in any way. They just want to survive.
Right.
If it all comes just down to surviving and having a meal for the day, if that is their main priority, I don't think they will step out
beyond. No, but that's the thing. We still have to go back to the roots of that oppression. Who is doing this oppression? How is it still there? So I mean, it's like when you're talking about a minimum daily wage worker, maybe it might be somebody working in the construction site. Who is stopping them from talking? It's not like they were born and they were like, yeah, I'm not going to talk. Somebody told them that this is not the best option for you. But why? What were their experiences? Maybe it was the maestri, what do you call it in English? The mason. Yeah, the mason who's exploiting them. Maybe it's the big ones, the big bosses, the CEOs.
Corporations.
The corporations that are building these buildings. So that's the thing. We are part of these communities, these organizations in one way or another. We either work for them or we are them. So when we turn a blind eye to that and say, oh yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm definitely not contributing to it. It's like the planet is so interwoven, it's interconnected.
Yeah, it's like this domino effect, one falls, all the pieces will just
exactly
roll down.
We're so connected to each other. We are because of each other. So maybe if I don't buy a flat there because of the way they treat their workers, maybe I'm not contributing to the success of that organization, right? Because we create demand. They don't create demand by themselves. They just cater to the demand. So when we create a demand and that demand exploits a ton of people, then we have to estimate our priorities. We have to reconsider our demands.
Yeah.
So we're just so comfortable in our lives. Even if we're acknowledging it, we're not acknowledging how we're part of the oppression.
Okay.
How we are the oppressing power.
Yeah.
So we have to stop. We have to call these organizations out. We can't pity them, man. They're so fucking powerful. Like they control. If they have, that's the thing, right? It's like if you have money, you control the planet. That's how it is. Like you see Amazon, they mistreat their employees. Apparently, they don't have bathroom breaks.
And health insurance was also barred from their from their contract.
Right, they don't have health insurance as well. Right, they don't give what is essential for people. And you can't even say like, oh, they're not obligated to. Yes, of course they are. I mean, these corporations exist because of us. We gave them that power, we let them control many aspects of the society. So I think if we're working for the organization and we're helping with its proliferation, we should definitely be giving the most basic necessities, like a good health insurance and fucking bathroom breaks.
I know.
Because
I know.
God knows that they won't be where they are without, our involvement, and we know that they can definitely afford to, because
I guess these corporations almost treat their employees like foot soldiers, And if you're gone, okay, we'll replace someone else.
Exactly,
They'll just
right?
chuck you.
Exactly, they don't really care. Which is
Morality
devastating.
is gone. Way down.
You can't be a billionaire if you're moral, if you have principles, because see, money just circulates. You don't create new money. When you become richer, somebody else is getting poorer. If I give you my money, you are a penny richer and I am a penny poorer, and I have to earn it back. So that is how it is. Money circulates. So when you are a billionaire, there are tons of people who don't even have a penny in their bank account, and you can't sit there thinking, it's fine because I've worked so hard. No, you haven't. You've just exploited people. You've exploited
Working hours and not, they're not directly proportional to what they earn.
Yeah, no, it's absolute bullshit. The working hours, they don't work.
Yeah.
They don't wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and go to bed at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
If they do, it's because, they have unhealthy practices. They have fundraisers to go to, galas and parties and everything. They don't really care about their business beyond a certain point. If it's making money, it's making money. That is all. They are the brand. They are the representative. They are the face of the company. But they're not really putting in any efforts because they have boards. They have board of directors. They have the marketing team. They have the logistic team. They have the research and development team to do it for them.
Yeah.
So they are just there. They are just representing the corporation. So it's absurd to me that people are obsessed with billionaires like these, because we think that one day we can be them. Because we listen to their stories, their stories of valor, the stories of bravery, and how they overcame, a lot of hindrances, a lot of impediments. But we don't acknowledge how their start was much more, bigger than ours. They started off from a pretty good position, and then from there they kept climbing higher up. Like, even if you came from a really bad family, come on, you are the Aurora Pablo. Where are you from? You're from America. You're a white dude from America in the 90s. You have very few barriers to cross compared to, an Asian man in America in the 90s.
Oh, they're still kind of, president.
Yeah.
They have this Asian hate and all.
Exactly. How many billionaires do you know who went into America and made it big despite being of a different race? It's mostly white people. In India, it's a Gujarati, Ambani, right? And it's China, it's that John Ma.
No, Jack Ma.
Sorry, Jack Ma, exactly.
He's missing apparently.
Yeah, he's missing.
No one knows where he is.
Thank God. No, exactly.
But still his corporations are running very smooth.
Yeah, obviously. See, that's the thing, right? It won't stop once the CEO goes away.
I was so curious, I kind of did Google, where did Jack Ma go? Even though I don't follow him, I was like, where can he just disappear,
I'm pretty sure he's hiding in his private island, in his...
Which is untraceable.
Yeah, $50 million villa. That's how it is. They don't disappear. They're just having a vacation.
Or else, he's just bought all the media and he's staying under the radar and no one's just ready to expose him.
Exactly, you know how it is in China.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, you can only be a billionaire if you're in your country, because in your country you might be an elite.
Okay.
You might be an elite that you won't be in any other country.
What if we trace back this whole scenario from a worker's point of view, from an employee's point of view? Say it's me. I don't have any work right now, but I need to feed my family.
Right.
And there's this big corporation who's ready to give me a job, but I have to overwork.
Right.
But there is a decent wage.
Yeah.
And I don't know, yearly once they give you bonus or something.
Yeah. And
you're happy with it, right?
Yeah.
You have to make ends meet.
Right.
That's why I will go and enroll myself into this corporation because I want to work, right?
Exactly.
So it's like it just works in both the ways. A third person who is witnessing everything can find flaws that he is right, he is wrong, he is misusing. But the employees who are working there feel so blessed, like, oh my god, I have a job in my hand. I'm so independent. Especially, I don't know, like broke people or teenagers who just want to pay their loans.
Yeah.
They work in McD or KFC.
Exactly.
Why? Because they want to make their ends meet. They don't think
Exactly.
about getting oppressed or overworked. At the end of the day, oh my god, we are getting paid. We are so lucky, you know, we
Grateful,
have a job in our hand. And that is the kind of high they experience.
No, I think that is what, these corporations capitalize on this helplessness.
Yep.
They look at you and like you're the perfect candidate, not the activist kind.
It's like they'll make the shark smell the blood
Ah.
and then the whole act begins.
Exactly. This is, it's like, it's orchestrated. The entire thing is orchestrated.
Yeah, like someone who desperately needs a job.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a place like in the United States, you need to make money or else you
Yeah.
become homeless, and no one wants that.
Exactly.
And they will inevitably get into these corporations, right?
No,
And over time they might make an extra penny or two, and that itself is it's an achievement for them,
No, exactly. These corporations, there's so much gratitude when a well-known corporation
Yeah.
hires you.
I'll give you that, yeah.
It's just you're so happy that they finally chose you over the million candidates they could have chosen from. But no, everybody working there is just like you.
The sad part is you're easily disposable and they don't give a damn.
Exactly. You're not contributing that much to the organization. You're just one among a million other employees all over the world. So how is your work fulfilling? I don't understand, because
It's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
I mean, see, mentally and emotionally they might not be fulfilled, but
monetarily
they're not starving.
financially, Exactly.
They're not starving.
It's
Their
sad
kids
that
are not starving, and that's all they want. It's sad, but that is what happens when you eat up all the wealth, and then when you have so much, you're ready to give under certain terms and conditions.
yeah,
And people who are starving will be like, oh my god, we want this.
exactly. Like your salary, dude, that the CEO is probably earning 10 times more
Then,
in a minute
I know.
than you do in your entire month. So it's just, we have to stop being grateful to our companies, because I know a lot of people like that. I know family members who are just so happy to be in that company.
Yeah.
They're just so happy to receive these awards, but I know how hard they work.
It's all an act, okay?
Yeah.
It's just an act to show that
Cognitive
yeah,
dissonance.
you're so loyal to us, you take this memento.
Exactly.
Okay, that too it's mass produced, and it's like it just came in a
$300
couple
a
of
piece.
dollars, okay? And they will keep it in their showcases, and
Yeah.
their grandkids will see.
Exactly. It's like,
Like,
I used to
oh,
work for this company.
I know, and see what they got, employee of the year or something.
It's just, I don't think I will be satisfied working in an organization, even though at some point of time I might have to
I
survive.
feel that is how you start, right?
Yeah, you start off, but some people just get so comfortable that they don't want to
That's
change.
what.
They don't wanna
That's
look.
what they're
It's security.
they're toying with your finance, your your state of mind,
Yeah.
and they're slowly giving you what you want, not in a whole, but in little chunks, like in the form of
Exactly.
promotions and this good gesture that they do in every damn festival, that keeps them warm, like, oh wow, I'm so secure.
It just shows you that it's like, oh, the company obviously loves me, that's why they're doing it.
Middle class
for
is
me.
it's like this only.
That is why I think we remain the middle class. It's just we're looked down upon constantly because we're desperate to get out of it. We're just so unhappy being there in the middle. We want to go to the top, which is why we work for these companies, right? Because
Yeah.
of these promotions, because we might one day, I don't know, become the CEO by luck or by chance, but it never happens. We all die at most, I don't know, manager of
Let's
like a
just-
particular
yeah.
branch or something.
Ah.
That's all.
See, let's just consider our parents' generations where they work in corporations, and say they had a dream, they gave up on all that because they had to make ends meet, right?
No, I mean,
And see, listen, when they have kids, what will they do? They make sure that they get a proper education,
yeah.
and they get into a university, they get married, they'll become grandparents at one point, and they're like, okay, I think we have done our job, time to
That is
leave.
life.
See, everything, smallest of ambition, a dream, everything is put into a back burner and forgotten because you only had to survive, right?
Yeah.
I guess most of the middle class are like that only, just make money, buy things, and these materialistic things, they actually give you this high. Yeah, only for a short amount of period, but it does.
Exactly. We don't actually talk about how money does not buy you happiness.
Okay.
Because it's very temporary. You buy a dress, you're really happy about it. You want another dress that you see another other day. It's very, very temporary. But we don't acknowledge that because it's a moment, like you said, it's a momentary high. It's there, but it's addiction, like you have to keep buying things because we've attached a certain emotion that we think is required to be successful to things. That's why we keep churning out more money, buying out more things. So that's the thing. It's like we are so comfortable in our lives that we don't want to talk about, that we don't want to talk for anybody else.
Yes.
Because we're so busy making money that we don't want to go out and protest.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about how how the system is exploiting us, which is so comfortable. That's the thing. That's what corporations do to you. They give you so much work that you don't have time to think about anything else.
Yeah.
You're just concerned about your life and your family. And then you grow up thinking that is happiness. You tell your child that is happiness. Your child grows up thinking that is happiness. So that's the thing. You will always remain in the middle class. And it's not even a bad thing,
So, a middle class child having a dream is like a dream.
It is a dream, exactly. It's good as a dream, that's all. To actually go there and achieve it, because God knows it's really hard.
I'll be honest with you on this one thing. Recently, my degree was about to end, and I'm also from a middle class background.
Same.
I don't know, for a short amount of period, I was like, I want to do masters, and what if I go out to abroad and study? So for us, it's like a dream, okay? So one day, I was just talking to my dad, and I was like, let me just apply to the passport and keep, because what if I move out? He was like, don't dream so much. He literally told those words, and you know what? I didn't get angry. I started laughing because all of this comes out like it's so natural,
Exactly.
They don't want to get out of that bracket, and I was like, what
It's
the
so
hell?
sad that we're not even allowed to dream about it.
Yeah.
Like, we get it, dreams are not reality, they're far from it. But we can at least think about it, imagine our lives. And another thing, we've attached success to going abroad. I hate that. I think that is why India is still where it is. Because we don't talk enough about how hard it was for us, to come to the place that we are today.
Yeah.
We weren't free until less than a century ago. What, 74 years?
74. Yeah.
That is all.
Our country is still young,
Exactly, our country is still young.
but overpopulated.
Tell me about it. People were also too young and enthusiastic, so they just kept doing it.
And again, it's the stereotype. If you don't have a kid in the family, you're abandoned. Like, oh my God, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's out of that fear and excitement.
And then
Multiplication.
if you don't have a boy child, you have to keep trying until you have one.
Yeah, that is there.
So
it's still there, I'm sorry, but it is.
definitely there. It's there even in middle class families. It's there in rich families. It's everywhere. People need boy children to take care of their business. I don't understand how having an extra appendage makes you more qualified than a person who doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just absurd how we're assigning values to a certain gender because they have a dick. It's just stupid to me.
No, it's okay. I really appreciate your perspective.
Yeah.
That's why I feel underdog movies really do well.
Right.
It's this kid's dream that he wants to be something,
Yeah.
fights against all the odds, makes it to the top. And that's the kind of stories people appreciate, because that's so
That's
dreamy
essentially
and
our dream.
unreal that it can only happen in a film. And that's so sad,
But what is the top? The top is always being
Top is
a famous artist.
Yeah, I mean, for that individual, it might be breaking that poverty chain
Right.
and becoming something. It might be with respect to finance or popularity or something. They're just coming out of that bracket to do something different, right? And if they get successful, though, finished. They'll get a biopic in 5 years.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Exactly. I think we're so obsessed with success. It's like you're only successful if you're either famous or really rich. That is all, like it doesn't even, or if you've gone to a foreign country and represented your country.
Yeah.
It's just we have this third world mentality.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away. We think.
Yeah, it's almost like an understatement. See, if I live, if I lead a happy life, that might be success for me.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's not success according to the society. You're still a failure. That's how. I mean, happiness is the epitome of success, and happiness is personal. I can still choose to be happy now, but I have aspirations that I want to achieve, and only then will I think that will guarantee happiness to me. But it might not be the same definition because I chose art, so that is obviously like a disappointment to my family.
Okay.
But now that I'm doing well, like I was good at studies, in my class I was sort of like one among the toppers. So only then people
cough.
It's true. I don't mind bragging about it.
Okay.
But only then did my family come to me and say, "Oh, we're so proud of you." But when I told them I was choosing journalism, they're like, "Oh, what the hell? No, you're not gonna be doing that. No way. We'd rather kill you than let you go to journalism." So yeah, that's the thing. It's only if you're at the top of the class or the chain, your profession, only then you're successful. But if I'm making minimum wage, working in a place I really like, contributing to the society, that's not the definition of success. Of course it's not. It's like, how could it be? You're not making enough money and you're not popular. So that really bothers me, and I think that gets the best of us. That puts pressure on every person, no matter how open-minded they are. And that is why they resort to doing things they normally wouldn't do. So I think that is why the media is so corrupt. Because despite how pure the profession itself is, right, it's reporting about...
Media is not corrupt. Media is not media anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something else that we just, call as media. And another thing I genuinely feel is, even if an individual is happy with what he has, a small home, someone who's not married or something like that, be it anything, okay, that does look unusual, but still if he is happy, he's not allowed to be happy. People around him verbally fucking abuse and just make sure that he's not happy, Sometimes neighbors are only fuck all, because they're like, oh, this didn't happen, oh, that didn't happen. See, my son did this, or my daughter did this.
That comparison.
Yes, when all this happens, it's very natural to have self-doubt. And even though you're happy and peaceful, they kind of kill you from the inside and walk away. That is also a form of murder that doesn't get reported, And you just change as a person.
Yeah, I agree.
See, you'll have so much talent in you that you want to express. End of the day, someone commented on, on your work and you'll be like, oh no, and you just give up. And that's the worst thing that could ever happen, You're dead. You're just a vessel.
Exactly, right? So it's so silly, it's so stupid that they decide that you aren't happy. They won't listen to you. They're like, no, I'm pretty content. They're like, no, how could you be? You don't have a wife, you don't have a husband, you don't have a child, you don't have a 3-story building, you don't have a fucking Benz.
You should have these roles in the family. If these roles are there, present, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's
that
good.
Is happiness, exactly. Yeah. You should fit a certain bill.
That puzzle should be completed. If one piece is missing, it's gone.
That's how we're treated, right? Like, we are not complete until there are people attached to us or like a job role attached to us.
Yeah, it's so stereotyped, I understand. Yeah.
I mean, who are we doing all this for? I know we're not doing it for ourselves because God knows that is not what I want. And I know that is not what anybody wants, because if I look at my family, I don't think the family members are really happy doing what they are. Even if they are, it's because they're getting paid well. That is all. So it's so sad that our entire lives revolve around pieces of paper. I know that is an understatement.
It's not, and a new wave just. I know I'm using this word too much because I don't know. I just feel this is
it's appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, if you remember in 2018, this law was passed.
Right, the section 377.
Yes, and after that, people started opening up.
Right. Yeah.
They kind of hit themselves so deep inside that they kind of gave up. But after Section 377 happened, I guess it's like this wildfire, people who wanted to kind of hate started hating even more.
Yeah.
At the same time, people who wanted to come out, came out, and it was just beautiful, and from past 3-4 years, this change has brought only good, more good than bad, the good outweighs the bad in this situation. Right? Even though if we were talking before, like how people are opinionated on everything, here also people are opinionated, but this community is so they're so united that you just can't break them,
Right.
because there are so many people who wants to listen, and if you want to be heard, they're there to listen to you, right? Especially be it social media or anyone, they are there, and I guess the solidarity is just beautiful.
Right. So I think we underestimate how much power the constitution has. Once the law was passed, I think there was nothing they can do to fight back, people who didn't agree with them.
Yeah.
Because the law itself says that it's okay for them to do that. So that's why people were more vocal about their sexuality after that. So I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful that the Supreme Court acknowledged this, this factor and how it contributed to their flamboyance, like their openness in the society. So I think that sort of, when it became legalized, a lot more people were, even advertising about it. I wasn't happy about that, corporations again capitalizing on that. But I think it got the dialogue started, more people were interacting with each other. They were accepting. They couldn't do anything because the law itself said that it's okay the way they are. And it's so stupid because this wasn't even a part of our culture, homophobia.
Yeah.
It was only made illegal when the Brits came in. They made it illegal.
Yeah.
Because Christianity does not accept it.
I know.
In our own folklores, in our own, like Mahabharata and Ramayana, we have gods converting to, women, male gods converting to women. So it's not even unnatural.
The concept of Ardhanarishwara.
Exactly, Ardhanarishwara, and also Vishnu converting to Mohini.
Yeah.
So it's there in our scriptures. Even if you go to temples, there are scriptures where, about the Kama Sutra. We were very open about sex. Why do you think there's 1.3 billion people here? We love sex. We do. But we just don't talk about it because, apparently it's a shameful thing. But that is how Christianity was. That is why that was pushed on to us.
Yeah, it's like you love sex so much that you don't talk about it. And if there is no right sex education, what happens?
There's
population explosion.
Yeah.
And there is also rape. I know.
Exactly. It's like sex education does stop rape.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, because it's like people are very curious.
I know.
So they go forcefully, attack other people because
cross
they're so
boundaries
curious. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not really doing justice to the whole thing by saying just that, but curiosity is a thing.
Yeah.
It's because they're not allowed to talk about it. They're not supposed to. They're not allowed to express it. So they just go and attack random people, and it's really sad. And women themselves are not allowed to express their sexuality because it's a bad thing. You can't do it until after marriage. And even after marriage, if your husband wants to have sex, you have to have sex because marital rape is still legal.
Yeah.
It's not illegal. It's like I married you for sex. That's how men, give excuses.
Yeah.
Like I've seen comments like that. It's like she's good for one thing, at least let me do that to her.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you speak like that?
I know.
It's still rape, right? If there is no consent, it's rape. That is all. That is the definition of rape. If it's not consensual, it's fucking rape. There's nothing you can do about it.
I know.
So it's just, I think we were generally more open-minded, in India at least, until
Until
Brits
you know,
came in.
yeah, not only Brits, you know, we also had concept of kings and queens and
Oh
all
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, definitely.
They dictated rules. They kind of controlled the way of our living, right?
Right.
That's why I think, you know, fighting for the, you know, your
I mean, it's love, man. Like, as
I
long
know.
as it's two consenting adults and
Hmm.
it's not, I can't get behind incest. It's just, it's too weird for me.
yeah.
As long as it's not that, I don't see what the problem is.
You know, talking about people coming out, did you ever feel that you even had dormant feelings about you know, stuff that you didn't think you had, and after this whole, you know, movement and this whole wave began, did anything happen in you personally?
I think I was familiar with homosexuality when I was really young. Back then, obviously, I was homophobic. Until I was 15 years old, I think. That was when I came across boy bands. And you know how boy bands are. There are a bunch of boys who are really close to each other. So, One Direction, obviously. Who doesn't know One Direction? So, there was a ship called Larry Stylinson. It's pretty popular, I think. I mean, even now. So, it's Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles. So it's a conspiracy theory. Although I do kind of believe it's true. I'm not going to talk about that. So yeah.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like these two guys were secretly in love with each other, but the management was stopping them because, you know, their fan base is a bunch of teen girls who fantasize relationships with them. So that was the whole conspiracy, and there are several proof videos to back that up, you know, like them being touchy, them being really domestic with each other, you know, like
But they don't
saying
want to
I
come
love
out
you.
of certain rules and regulations.
Yeah, they don't want to come out. But I mean, I don't really know how far it's true because I don't know them personally. But they're pretty, you know, like, I don't think you can be that way with your friends. But anyway, it's personal, I mean, you know. So I think Harry Styles, he has said that he is attracted to men, but he does not want to label himself. But he's sung about it in several of his songs. He's expressed his attraction towards men. So I think that's when I sort of started thinking about whether I could be bisexual or not, because I've been attracted to women, not women I know. I mean, random women on the street. If I find somebody attractive, I'm like, damn. Same with men. I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. Like, I talk about it. I don't. It's just that confidence is there, that security.
That admiration just became more strong.
Yeah, exactly. So I sort of started fantasizing about women, you know, like about, I personally prefer like masculine women, but I sort of found them attractive. So I'm like, you know what, I might be bisexual, I might be pansexual, hell, I might even be a lesbian, I don't know. I'm open to experiment. So that's the thing. It's like, I think we're all a little bit gay, all of us.
Okay.
Like, we all look at people from the same gender and we think, damn, that person is hot, I'd bang them. So nobody wants to accept it, but everybody has had that feeling. Everybody. Like, I don't know, your boys might look at Chris Evans or Idris Elba and be like, yeah, they're hot. Maybe, I don't know how it is with you. You've never found a man attractive?
I mean, see, for me, attractive in the sense, like, if they're well built,
Yeah.
like, see, now that is called fitness, you know. I look at in that perspective. Like when I saw Michael B. Jordan in Creed, I was like,
gorgeous.
dude, he's worked so hard, he's so ripped, and it's like, you know, that's the kind of physique you need to have.
But not just that, have you never looked at a man and was like, damn, that is one attractive man? Like anybody, celebrity in real life.
With respect to looks, I might, you know, it's like, oh, they look good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's not even because you want to be them, but maybe it's like you want to be with them. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it hasn't happened to you yet. Or maybe it hasn't.
It hasn't happened to me yet.
Yeah.
See, when I see like Keanu Reeves' hair is so good, I was like, see, you know, that's called a good hair.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of admiration I express, you know.
Right.
Or when I saw Brad Pitt in Fight Club, you know, like 2 years back I was exercising and I actually thought, you know, I want to be like Brad Pitt.
Really like
You know, that's the kind of admiration or interest I show.
But that's because you find him attractive, right? I
See,
mean,
again,
you think-
attractive has this filter, right?
No, I mean, it's not like attraction doesn't mean that you have to sleep with that person. But you look at them and it's like, damn, that's one good looking person.
yeah, I admire them.
Yeah,
And
but
yeah,
it's
somewhere
still fine.
when I was talking about fitness and all, I was like, did you see Brad Pitt? He's so fit, you know. I was like, yeah.
Exactly. So that's fine. You know, like it doesn't always have to be about, you know, like fucking them. But as long as you're okay, you know, like looking at people and being like, yeah, I mean, they're attractive. I think that's a very positive feeling to have. And just
I guess that admiration itself is not there, is what you're telling.
yeah. Generally, people when they look at attractive people, they get insecure. But I mean, it happens to the best of us. It happens to me as well. But I think in general, that's one good thing about sort of being okay with your sexuality, because you kind of accept that they're nice while being comfortable with the way you look, right?
Yeah.
So that is what's most important, because you know that there are people, there will always be a person who is a lot more attractive than you, but instead of hating them for it,
you know how I got this admiration? I guess right from my PU days, or you know, 11th or 12th, what they call. Right from that time on, I had a very low self-esteem as to how I look.
right?
Now it has improved over time, but yeah, from that time on, I had a very low self-esteem about how I look and how I am. Okay, so when I saw good looking men, I was like, they're so good looking, you know, like
Right.
what the hell, like like they've set an example in this you know, magazine covers and all. I was like, damn. When I see Dwayne Johnson working out, I was like, yeah, now, you know, crazy working out. That's called determination, you know.
Yeah, I mean, see, just the little things, just acknowledging how they're fit, or you know, their hair, they have nice hair. or
Yeah, I
their
might
skin is
not.
really nice.
Yeah, it's like having role models is not wrong.
Yeah.
Like I told, when I was losing weight, I did you know, research on how you have to do this, that, or who's the most fittest, or who's had this journey from fat to fit. I used to follow them because their stories are so inspiring
Right.
that I did end up following them. Right?
Yeah.
Because even somewhere I got this roadmap of how I have to go.
Ha.
So I was talking to my friends. I was like, see, you know, this story is really amazing.
Ha.
You know,
But you know what? I let you in on a little secret.
What?
It's not always real.
what real? Like
Their bodies are not always real.
yeah,
They're
I mean morphing and
extensively
steroids and
Photoshop.
yeah.
Like, have you seen that Justin Bieber's cover on Calvin Klein?
No.
That was ridiculous.
No, I
like
didn't
his
follow
bulge was increased in size, and his butt and his
Oh.
abs. You know, like he was made to look bulky.
But you know what? I know. I kind of know that Salman Khan's biceps were kind of
Oh, that's.
in Radhe.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to body shame, but I don't like the way he looks. Like his body, it's like an inflatable balloon, okay? Like
Yeah.
he's put some sort of, you know, like tiny balloons around his chest, and he's just walking around like that. Like that dude can't dance because of the way he's built.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's forced to dance, okay? Why
Yeah.
is he even taking that role if he can't?
I know, it's so sad. The
Body is
second-hand
enhanced in CGI.
embarrassing.
Sometimes it happens. Or what if?
CGI
Yeah, I mean VFX, they do that, okay?
to dance?
Not to dance, to you know,
Or
enhance
to
your
increase,
physique.
yeah, exactly. So when it's so like the celebrities set beauty standards that they themselves can't achieve.
Yeah, true.
So it's like beauty standards is so fake because there is nobody who is perfect. They will always think, oh, you know, I could be a bit more bulkier, I could be a bit thinner. That's why they're so insecure with themselves. Like, that's why they constantly Photoshop, they get surgeries. Now, see, the surgery thing is, I know it's a pretty sensitive area because people get offended when you tell them that surgery is not the best way, because they're like, oh no, that's for my happiness. But it's just so sad that you believe that having plastic surgery will give you happiness, because the corporations, the surgeons, they're convincing you that the way to happiness
Convincing
is
is there,
having,
yeah.
having, you know, like bee-stung lips or like large eyes, you know, like especially in South Korea. They're literally morphing their features to look like a Western person, to look like a white person. They want really fair skin, they don't want monoliths. They don't like their monoliths. How sad is
What is
that?
monolith? I don't know.
You know, like their eyes are like much smaller because their lid is one.
Oh.
It's not 2 layers, and there's no 2 layers.
Okay,
They're
okay.
called Mongolite features.
Okay.
So they get surgeries for that, and these are graduation presents. Like parents gift it to their children.
Oh my
They
god.
get nose jobs for presents. They get, you know, the eye surgery. I think it's called something. From
Okay, so that is how they're credited for their achievements.
Yeah, and moreover, they only hire the most attractive people.
Oh my
Like on your
God.
resume, you were supposed to put your photo because they think that customers only interact with the more attractive kind. So it's just really sad looking at the state of that country. Like I know they churn out money like by the year because of their large entertainment industry. And I personally like these people. I mean, like I like their shows, I like their movies,
K-drama, K-pop
Yeah.
and all.
I mean, I'm not a fan of K-drama. I think it's a bit depends on what we're talking about. Like there's Crash Landing on You, a huge fan, shout out to that. I really love that show, but yeah, some of them are really cringy, but I don't want to get into that. I know.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't follow them, so I don't know much about
Yeah, I keep watching documentaries, but they're just, it's so sad that you're editing your features, you're it's literally a part of your ancestry.
Yeah.
It's part of you, your
Yeah.
race. And you're editing these features to look more attractive because you don't think they're attractive enough.
Yeah.
It's just sad because that is, and these standards are European standards.
I know.
They don't apply to the whole world. It's standards that white people can achieve. Fair skin, it's there in India. It's there everywhere. Everybody wants fair skin. Everybody wants blonde hair. I don't think it's ugly. I don't mean to, insult
It's
anybody.
okay.
Yeah, but they just want those features. They want blue eyes because they think that's beautiful. It's just...
I mean, they made a song on Blue Eyes only.
Yeah, Honey Singh. That lady was wearing contact lenses. It's not even real.
Yeah.
It doesn't look real because it's not. And it's just, I think about how we all came from two people, like this couple. We all came from the same people.
Yeah.
We just migrated to different parts of the world, and that's why we developed our features. The Africans, they're much darker because they grew up in a very sunny environment. The Europeans, they're much lighter because it's really cold there. And Indians are, it's a variety of mixture. The South people, they're much darker because, there's a lot of sun, coastal areas.
Yeah.
And as we progress, as we go towards the top, they're really fair because, it's really cold there. And, there's no... I did a research on that actually. The Mongolites, there's no particular reason why they have small eyes, like smaller eyes. But it's still because of the place they lived in. So I don't understand.
Even food also depends.
Yeah, everything, right? Like we just migrated to different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And that's why we are now how we are.
Yeah.
Because, that's the
I
thing.
feel everyone could think this way because,
Yeah.
people around me, my friends, they're pretty vocal about all this. And I think this percentage must increase.
It definitely has to.
This change that we want,
Yeah.
it will only happen if the percentage of believers increase, and if there is this camaraderie between people that it'll really uplift everyone, make them feel good.
Yeah.
And I just to conclude the whole session, I just came across this saying on Instagram saying that body shaming is so last season. I just like that quote,
Yeah, but unfortunately some people prefer vintage. So
Yeah.
you can't really put an end to it. But I guess we just have to realize how it's stupid. The standards are stupid. Just be you, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a great session. We touched upon so many
Likewise.
topics, start from equality, and again ended up,
With racism. and
I know, we
violence.
just covered so many sensitive topics that had to be addressed. And I really appreciate you doing this, and thank you for coming. How did you feel?
Oh, I'm just so glad there is a recording on the internet. An hour-long recording of just my voice.
Yeah.
It's just, it feeds my ego so much. But I always enjoy talking about stuff like this. So it was really refreshing to actually sit and rant. It's not even a rant. It was a proper discussion.
Yeah.
Like you had opinions, I had opinions. So it's really great to put your opinions out there, and
Yeah.
maybe
People must do that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is how we get the conversation started.
Let's roll out in 3, 2, 1.
So our friendship ceases from now on. Please don't talk about